And welcome back to the Film Reel cast. I've said this same line over 200 times now, and I never get bored. We're back again, another review, and we're back on the MCU. We are continuing our Phase 1 reviews. And again, I'm continuing to do this with Steve. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Stu. Thanks for having me again.
It's a pleasure to have you anytime, my friend. So yeah, Thor 2011. Again, as usual, we haven't spoken about this, so I don't know what side of the fence you'll be on. But before we start, as usual, this will contain plot spoilers. It will contain foul language, immature chat, general fun. So if you don't like it, stick it up your bum. We're going to do it anyway. So it really doesn't matter. I wouldn't mind anyone who hasn't seen Black Panther, the tribute to Chadwick Boseman film, which should have a storyline to it as well, tagged on. I wouldn't mind talking about that now. So that will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen that film, save yourself nearly 3 hours and listen to what we're going to say. If you don't want to, go away for a little bit, come back. But Steve, you've seen it. I know your general thoughts on it, but
Yeah.
were you disappointed? What did you think when you left, or have you had a time to change your mind once you've thought about it? It's settled in.
Um, no, I've not really changed my mind. Like I said, it's the superhero fatigue is half of it, and I just thought it was very disappointing. Very disappointing.
It was, yeah. Why was it so disappointing for you? Was your expectations too high, or do you think it was just genuinely boring?
I think, and I don't want to sound horrible and heartless, but I think they focused too much on making it a tribute for Chadwick Boseman, and therefore the story was a bit lackluster. It was very, very just one dimensional. It was just about grieving, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's I found. I mean, I went on like the day it was released, and the cinema was really respectful at the start for the tribute, which I thought was really, really good to him. That they made out that some kind of illness was killing him, and they didn't let on to what that was. And I think that was an indication to when he had his original, like his illness, his cancer, that a lot of the cast didn't know. And that was great. The audience were respectful. They were quiet. There was no stupidity at all. And for me, that was all it needed. And the rest of the film, I need action. I need that sense of release and just them to get on with it. And I found it one long tribute to Chadwick Boseman, where it was sad because he was so young. Anyone dying like that is really, really sad. But I don't go to the films for that reason. I go for the release of reality, which is shit at the moment, and I never got that.
Yeah, it was a good bits, bad bits kind of thing, but I think it just in the end fell on its face.
Marvel just seem to struggle on their baddies. They really, really do. They either go out to be really evil, and then they have that sense of conscience where they're not as bad as they should be, and they're just let down. I don't know whether that's to do with Disney or not. I honestly don't know. It always comes back to that argument, which even I get bored of saying. But they just don't seem to do it right. And I was just so bored. I was clock watching after 2 hours, and even the end battle just seemed really boring. And I don't know. I would have Suri getting taken over Black Panther. I knew from the trailers it was going to be a female because that was a dead giveaway, wasn't it? But yeah, I think M'Baku taking over as a Black Panther, as I say, for one film would have been brilliant because he's such a great character. And I think to carry on from Killmonger, from the original Black Panther, I wanted someone just as strong, just as evil. And I felt like I didn't really get that from Suri. She is good, but I didn't get it. And I was bored. And it was just, and in the end, they did the tribute as well. And I was just tapping out when I wanted to go home. So it was a shame, really. But Phase 4, I think, has been really piss poor.
Yeah, really, really weak. Really, really weak.
Yeah, yeah. Shang-Chi, Eternals. They've been so weak. Doctor Strange was good. Spider-Man was good, but I don't know. It does worry me where they're going to go from here and what they've got. I mean, Secret Wars and stuff like that. I hope they're building up to something really good. My expectations are high, but for once, the TV series has overtaken the films, which speaks volumes. When I think the TV series hasn't been that great either, to be honest. So I'm a bit lackluster on the Marvel front. I think I'm just a bit. It's too much, and they're not producing good quality.
No, I mean it worked so well up until Endgame, didn't it? I think they're just tiring themselves out. Maybe have a bit of a break, like a real break, to get us excited for these films again.
Yeah, leave us wanting more. Leave us wanting something rather than spoiling us with just too much. And yeah, I'm just really kind of parted out at the moment, and it's a real shame.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
But Endgame, Infinity War, just blew me away. Really, really blew me away. Even though I knew like main characters were going to die, it was just so exciting. And even when I came out and like my main man, Robert Downey Jr., he was out of it. And even when they got rid of Chris Evans, Cap, I mean, I loved those characters. And going away to not have them, I thought I'd rather have had them and experienced the memories I've got of him picking up Mjolnir and me and my son just jaws on the floor looking at each other, high-fiving in the cinema because it was so exciting. To now having what we've got, I'm underwhelmed, like a huge amount, and I think that's the biggest problem I've got.
You're missing the point. There's no throne. There is no version of this where you come out on top. Maybe your army comes, and maybe it's too much for us, but it's all on you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't have that excitement. There is no point in the movie, especially Wakanda Forever, where I got the chills that I used to get. I don't get them anymore.
No, it's a shame, but fingers crossed it will kind of pick itself up and kick itself up the arse. So who knows? But the good thing is we're going back to 2011 and Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh. And for those who have been locked in a prison and don't know what's actually happening, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, is a warrior cast out the fantastic realm of Asgard by Odin, played by Sir Anthony Hopkins, for his arrogance. And he is very arrogant as well as good looking, sent to Earth to live amongst the humans. Falling in love with very plain Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, who teaches him the much needed lessons of being a human being, found strength, and he's chased by his villainous brother, who I love, and Tom Hiddleston, played by Loki. And he learns to become a human and gain his powers. And a lot of other cast members are in this who look like they're from, for instance, I love the quote, you've got Jackie Chan, and who else? You've got Robin Hood, and you've got, is it Wonder Woman or some other person's mentioned, and they're really, really sad characters. But it is a massive cast, isn't it? And the cast excites me, to be honest. I love Natalie Portman. I've always had problems with her, and I feel she's always giving it 50% when she's on screen. I don't know what you think.
She can give me 50% of anything. I love Natalie Portman.
Well, you could have just said so. No, I mean, ask nicely.
But I see what you mean. She's very now you've said it, I see it even more. She is there's nothing to her like delivery of her lines, is there? She's just so mundane.
It's really weird, and I kind of noticed it a lot when she was obviously in Star Wars, and I struggled, and I didn't know whether because she was like the queen, but she seems to be like that in every role she plays, which is a shame because Leon, when she was in that Professional, she was brilliant as a child, but she's kind of stagnated throughout everything. But I mean, when we go forwards to the latest Thor film, I thought she did really well in that, and not because she died, but, but I thought she was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think she was almost brand new in the latest film. There was a lot more to her and her character. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Anthony Hopkins, he's great. He's Hannibal Lecter, always will be.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
And I feel I struggle with him in this. I can't. I struggle liking him basically. Every time he's on screen, I just fucking roll my eyes. He's just does my head in.
Oh wow, I actually really like him in this. I think he's great.
Oh wow, that's really good. That's brilliant. Again, difference of opinion. I mean, Tom Hiddleston, Loki. This is the breakthrough for him. Obviously, he had other acting roles before, and he was known on television. But as Loki, the God of Mischief, this launched him. I mean, absolutely brilliant. I really like him. I think he's underused, but he is being developed in this, so it's understandable. Kat Dennings, I love Kat Dennings. I think she's brilliant. Very sarcastic. We'll talk more about her later as what she's actually doing there. Eric Selvig again comes into it more in the Avengers, which this leads to, and I kind of think, has he hired Natalie Portman or Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis because he thinks he might get in their knickers? Because I struggle to see why he's hiding, especially Darcy, because she does political science. She's nothing to do with this, is she?
No, I mean, yeah, maybe he knows what he's. I mean, he's a doctor. He knows what he's doing.
So was Harold Shipman, and he murdered so many people. So,
Okay, well, moving on.
Agent Coulson, created only for this film. He wasn't in the comics, not a creation of Stan Lee. As I say, Greg Clark. I like Agent Coulson. I think he's a very likable character. We'll get more onto the problems I had with him not being around in the Avengers, but I think he's good. He's very sarcastic. I loved him in Iron Man. I'd like to have seen more of him. I would have been quite happy.
Yeah, I like his character. Very dry sense of humor, but it just lands every time. He does so well.
Yeah, definitely. Idris Elba as Heimdall, absolutely brilliant. Looks menacing. He's got that presence on screen. His contact lenses that glow his eyes up like a tiger, orange. He looks really, really good. I love Heimdall. I mean, say he's got superhuman powers. He can sense throughout the 9 worlds, and he's got super hearing that he can hear gods being born, problems, people dying, and he can see over the earth. And he plays that really well, looking after the Bifrost. And his character's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. But again, he's another character I wish he'd have had more to do.
Yeah. Again, it just adds, like you said a minute ago. Well, not a minute ago. It's a really good cast, isn't it? The more you think about it, really strong characters and good actors playing those characters. And yeah, Heimdall, he just looks the part. He looks like he's taking it seriously. I don't think, does he even blink in this film?
I honestly don't know. He's got such a presence, and I love Idris Elba anyway. I really was hoping he'll be the next James Bond. Yeah, I think he was underused. And you've got the cosplay crew. You've got Volstagg, played by Ray Stevenson. Josh Dallas plays Fandral, and you've got Hogan, played by someone who I cannot pronounce his name. And you've got Sif, played by Jamie Alexander. I like these characters, but she's nice in several ways, but they're kind of the Warriors 3. They're not really given much to do. They're a bit of a joke. I can't see them conquering anything.
No, especially that Fandral bloke in it. He is just a poor man's Robin Hood.
Yeah, it's really weird. I can imagine seeing him at Comic-Con, and that's about it. They look like clowns. And the surprise for me was Rennie Russo. Going back in like the mid 90s, she was in everything, and she was doing really well. Her career was taking off, very well established by the 2000s, and her part in this is dramatically cut. And I know, looking at the notes, that she had so many more lines, and for one reason or another, that Kenneth Branagh, just half of her, or I'd say over half, is left on the cutting room floor. And I tried to find out why. I couldn't, but it's weird. Someone so big just got cut out of the film, really.
I mean, I have no idea who this woman is.
Really?
Different generation. I don't know what she's done.
Oh, what do you mean different generation? That's a polite way of saying, Jesus, Stuart, you're old, remember?
I am having a look now. So she's been in Thor: The Dark World and Avengers: Endgame.
Yeah, well, you're looking at, she was the love interest for Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon as well.
Oh my God, was she? Is that her?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she looks a lot different. I'm googling pictures now. Mental.
Yeah, she was a stunner.
Oh,
And you
wow.
make me feel old. You seriously do make me feel old. I mean, there's people at work when I say certain things that like different references that they'll turn around and they'll say, "My dad does that as well." And
Oh dear.
yeah, I know. And it's like, does your dad really do that? Or are you just trying to piss me off or just say that I'm old? But he does every now and then. I'll say something and it'll be, my dad does that. It's just like my dad. Great. Brilliant. So, yeah, thanks for that, for carrying on the old references, but older and wiser, apparently. So I'll take that, even though I say that myself about myself.
And better looking.
Oh, you are just too kind and full of compliments, and I'll take every single one. Yeah, I do like the way this film starts. It's kind of, it's not that much of a long film. It's 1 hour 56 minutes, so I'll take this over Wakanda Forever any day. So I mean, what's that? 2 hours 43 minutes, I think, a film, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm scarred, and I've got to go back with my son on Friday, who hasn't seen it, to watch the film again. So I'm going to take loads of Red Bull for that.
Yeah. Take everything. Maybe just take an eye mask and wake up at the end.
That's not a bad idea. I think I'll do that. I'll just snore. That's trouble. So at the start of this film, you've got Selvig in the middle of the desert, and they're in Mexico with Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis. And he's not doing what I'd be doing if I was in the middle of the desert in a little camper van with them. He's actually looking for a lightning strike, movement in the atmosphere, because they kind of like storm chasers from Twister, aren't they, in a certain way?
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of, was Twister, which is a great film, in my opinion. But that's a podcast for another day.
Do you know, I saw that at the cinema, Twister. Would you believe it? I know it's an old film and they didn't have a piano playing at mid-session, but I saw that at the cinema.
I'm sure my dad did too.
So good. I hate you as well. Excellent stuff. But I like at the start of this, and it's kind of done different times, where you do get, obviously, from the Bifrost coming down, you've got Thor there, and it gets all dusty, and they're chasing towards the storm to try and work out what's happened. And the fact that they run him over, it is a good introduction. It's quite nice. And before this, you need to remember that Chris Hemsworth was relatively, unless you're from Australia, unknown. I think that's good from an audience point of view, because your expectations are rock bottom. And I think, and I'll say it throughout this, I think Hemsworth nails it in this film.
Yeah, no, there's only one other person that could have played someone so handsome, so muscular, so charismatic, and that was me. And unfortunately, I was me. So they went with second best.
How's your confidence issues going these days? It sounds like it's rock bottom at the moment.
I've been feeling pretty down, to be honest.
Bless you, mate. Bless you. I'll try and build you up, because it sounds like you need it.
Yeah, please do.
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man. A handsome, muscular man. I'm muscular.
But who are you kidding, Quill? You're one sandwich away from fat.
Yeah, right. It's true, Will. You have put on weight.
What? And I like this. For people, I didn't know this before I saw this film. And this was the same through all of the phases, really, when I introduced new characters who I'd not seen before, that I knew nothing about Thor. And I knew nothing about his enemies, who he was, like the Frost Giants and things like that. So the introduction, when they walk you through it, voiced by, I think it's Anthony Hopkins, is really useful to me, where they talk about the different realms, and the Frost Giants went through and they destroyed the realms, because they use this like this blue box, the casket of ancient winters, which is an old relic weapon belonging to the frost giants of Jodheim, and it kind of just shoots out this massive, infinite icy wind, which just freezes and destroys complete worlds, taking them back to the Ice Age. And it's really well explained, and it's visually brilliant. The special effects, I think, are really good. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. The action sequence was very Lord of the Rings, especially with what you have described as icy wind being fired about. I thought it looks quite aggressive. The frost giants looked really kind of mean. They are proper savage, which is what you don't get in modern day Marvel.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I think they look relatively simple, but again, it's the contact lenses, the red eyes they've got. They look really menacing, and I've said this already numerous times. I think they're underused in this film a lot. I would like to have seen it stepped up with regards to how much presence they've got, because they are scary looking, aren't they?
Yeah, and they look like a force to be reckoned with. It's not going to be easy to go up against them. I mean, Odin's son, or Odin, had to go against him with his full army and his full might. And do you have anyone stronger than him in the universe? Probably not. So yeah, they could have utilized them a lot more to make them more of a threat.
Yeah, and that's what Marvel don't do throughout a lot of things, really. They just, you've got these really powerful characters, excuse me, and sometimes they put them on the screen, and like Captain Marvel, I love Captain Marvel. I think for several different reasons, several different angles, I think Brie Larson is absolutely brilliant, and I love the character.
Higher, further, faster, baby.
But initially, and in the comics, she's extremely powerful. She could have killed Thanos, but she's too powerful in the films. And then but they kind of made her so powerful, it's hard to reel her back, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. And how do you do that as well? How do you kind of counter their strength and bring it back? And I never even thought about that, but that's true. She was well OP. She's so overpowered.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she can destroy planets. She can do anything. And they pointed that out. And even in the comics, she's so powerful. And they first projected that in her own film, Captain Marvel. And then it was like, I kind of think they thought, oh shit, she is really, really powerful. Why do we need the other Avengers? Why do we need anyone else? She can solve the problems. And I think they've got a problem there. I don't know what they're going to do, because whatever they do now, you're going to struggle with stakes and risk, because she's really invincible. So it's that could be a problem. It could make a film really poor, to be honest. And I think they struggle with stakes in this film, or a lot of their films, where you think, I know he's not going to die, so what is the point? Which is like the Black Widow film. She finally got her own film, and you thought, I know she's going to live, so where's the excitement and stakes in this film?
With full bellies and clear skies, it's a paradise.
Because you murdered half the planet.
A small price to pay for salvation.
Yeah, the only one who's got stakes is Hawkeye, who's left, because he's the only human being, really. So he's never given a shout at all. He's never given any screen time now.
No, but again, it's not his movie, is it? He'll have his time in the future sometime.
Well, time and age is definitely against him.
Kneel before me. I said.
Kenneth Branagh and whoever wrote the story realised that they had to do something smart, and they had the perfect character to do it in Loki.
Yeah, definitely. I like the idea of that, and I like the mischief when Thor comes back from one of his missions, and he's walking through all of the people, and he's bragging, he's winking to his mum. And when I saw this, I got the impression that Anthony Hopkins was annoyed with him of his arrogance, but that doesn't come across at all. He's virtually sworn in to protect all of the Nine Realms and to start the process of becoming king. But all whilst this is happening, that Loki's let in some of the frost giants to try and steal back the casket of ancient winters, to only just to ruin Thor's day, really. And I'd like more to have happened then. You do see the destroyer, and the destroyer wipes him out, which is really good. But I was thinking that Anthony Hopkins was pissed off with Thor's attitude, but he wasn't, which surprised me and annoyed me to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, he had a little dig at him down in the weapons vault, where he's like, because Thor turns around and is about to say he's king, and then Odin is like, "You're not."
Yeah.
So, yeah, he gives off the impression, like you said, that he is pissed, but he's not really following it through. So it doesn't really make sense. It's quite contradicting what's going on.
Yeah, because this takeover, or the attempt theft of the casket, Thor's like, instant payback. We need to go there. It's a war, and I'm king. And I do like the fact that Anthony Hopkins does put him back in his place, and he proves that he's a wiser, more intelligent king. Whereas it's a really over the top way, or overt way of showing just how immature that Thor is. But I like the fact that Loki's planned all of this behind everyone's back. Yeah,
he's so smug, isn't he? He's like literally just always in the corner of your eye. He is just planting all of the seeds to get his way, and he's doing it so well. But I secretly love it. I really do like it.
Yeah, I do, because he's got physically, strength wise, he hasn't got anything to compare against anyone. He's not strong, but his cunning, his mischief, obviously the god of mischief, the fact when he sits next to Thor and starts talking to him, and he plants that seed in his mind of what should happen, that if like a true king, a true warrior would go back to Jotunheim and take them and destroy them, and Thor, like an idiot, where he's more brawn than brains, gets the Warriors 3 and Sif involved to go back and steal it. And they're just as stupid as well. All the Warriors are, aren't they?
Yeah. It's Loki is like having that little devil on your shoulder. He is planting all those bad ideas and getting you to do it. And he's secretly enjoying the carnage. And Thor just laps it up because he just wants to have a fight, doesn't he? He wants to go have a scrap and throw his hammer about. Again, the weapon kind of hammer. And he takes his little clown crew with him. Like, realistically, what are that lot going to do? Nothing. They're hardly the Avengers.
No, and as you said earlier, that Odin, it took a whole army to take them down. So that's never going to happen. But I do like Heimdall, where he says, "You're dressed in the wrong clothes. It's going to be very cold." And he knows exactly where they're going.
Yeah, but he wants his own answers, doesn't he? So he kind of gets blinded by his own arrogance in a way there.
Yes, yeah, that's true, actually. I never looked at it like that. But yeah, he does. It's a lot of egos at the start of this film. And when they actually do get down to Jotunheim, I like the fact that even the frost giant, King Laufey, tries to warn off in a really condescending way Thor of not doing anything, and he's dishonoring his father. But he just puts that bait out there for him, doesn't he?
Yeah, totally. And it's too easy. Thor is this, I mean, I know he's probably hundreds of years old, but he's still so childish. He's just blinded by his own strength. He wants to show off and be the hero, but by doing so, he's falling for everything. He's so dumb.
Yeah, when King Laufey, as they're turning around to leave, and he says to Thor,
"Run back home, little princess."
Dad.
and I love that in so many ways, that the Warriors 3 just know what's going to happen. Loki says, "Damn," and Thor just smiles. And then he turns around and smacks him with the hammer. And I love the fight that continues after that.
yeah, it's a good scene. A scene you want, but ultimately it just proves it sets up what's about to happen. It just shows that Thor is not ready to be a leader. He's dumb. He's being dumb again.
He is being dumb, and a lot of them are dumb, and you do get the kind of the foreshadow of what's going to happen later on, where I think it's Volstagg gets his arm touched by one of the frost giants, and it turns blue, and he gets like an ice burn, and he says, "Don't let them touch your skin." Then one of them touches Loki, and his whole arm turns blue, but then it goes back and it doesn't burn like the rest of the Warrior Three. So it's the foreshadow of possibly he isn't human, and he isn't like the rest. And when I first saw this, it didn't sink in that there possibly could be a difference. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, again, not knowing enough and not having much of an insight into the frost giants, it just didn't make sense originally. It made me wonder. I was like, what's just happened? But yeah, it just left me with a lot of questions, but the questions that do get answered. But at the time, I wasn't really aware of what was going on. Again, because they just didn't go deep enough into the frost giants for me.
No, I'm exactly the same. I never knew about these characters beforehand, and yeah, I would have liked to have known more. And I'd probably like to have seen I like the fight, but I never felt at any time, even when pretend Robin Hood got speared on that ice, that there was really any stakes, because you weren't invested in him. So any of them would have died, and you wouldn't have given a toss, really, would you?
No, yeah, I wasn't attached. Let them go.
Exactly, they're shit. But Odin comes down, and they've obviously got the peace treaty there, and he really, really embarrasses Thor, doesn't he? And he kind of treats him like a boy rather than a man. That he's broken that treaty, and what he's done just can't be mended. And you get King Laufey actually makes that quite apparent that the line's been crossed, and Odin just goes. But when they do go back to Asgard, probably one of the best bits in the film is the argument between Odin and Thor. I really like the dialogue between both of them. It's horrible what they say, especially what Thor says.
The Jotuns must learn to fear me, just as they once feared you.
That's pride and vanity talking, not leadership. You've forgotten everything I taught you. But a warrior's patience.
While you wait and be patient, the Nine Realms laugh at us. The old ways are done. You'd stand giving speeches while Asgard falls.
You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy!
And you are an old man and a fool!
It's kind of meant with venom, and it sounds like it.
Yeah, it really shows a good father-son dynamic between the two. And this is when I thought that Anthony Hopkins was really good for the part, because he is such an articulate actor. He's not like some dumb bloke who just delivers one lines. The way he delivers it. I mean, I was a little bit scared.
It was a good argument, and I agree with what you say. It's delivered really, really well by Anthony Hopkins, and when he's talking on screen, I don't have a problem with it, because his voice, even when you just hear his voice on the radio, that you know who it is. I think it's any action scene that he has, I struggle with, I think.
Yeah, he's not an action hero, is he? I'll give you that much.
No, not at all. And that's when Odin, Anthony Hopkins, casts out Mjolnir, and only someone who's worthy can pick it up. And I do like the visual effects of when he casts out Thor, which ties in when he goes. I don't think he goes down the Bifrost, does he? Because that's the bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, he just gets dumped.
Yeah, he just gets kicked out, and it ties back into the start of it when Selvig is taking the girls out into the desert for his own business, and they end up running over Thor, which I do like that loop, and it works really, really well, and it explains everything that needs to happen in a very clever half an hour.
Yeah, it's nice kind of just rounds it all off, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if only Black Panther could have come back and picked up this of how to do a story and how to cut out so much padded out shit, it would have been really useful.
Yeah, I mean, it would save 3 hours of our life.
No, mate, I'm doing it again on Friday. So there you go. What did you think of the hospital scene where Thor was taken to hospital and he kicked off in hospital? I kind of struggled with this and I was rolling my eyes. It just seemed, I know you've gone to the kind of Crocodile Dundee, taking a fish out of water scene where they're in a strange land, but it was just, for me, it was just too over the top.
Yeah, it was unnecessary, wasn't it? It really tried to make the gap between what it's like in Asgard and what it's like on Earth too big, when I'm sure they have places where they go for medical reasons in Asgard, and it's not going to be so different, is it? But they made it really kind of too alien, which then made the kind of whole scene just a bit comical in a way. Not like the aha, that's fun. Like, it was just a bit of a joke.
Yeah, I thought it was just a bit stupid. It took you out of the film to a certain extent, but I did love the bit where you've obviously got Mjolnir has landed in this big crater, and then you've got the locals, the idiots, gathering round, a bit like Excalibur, trying to pull this hammer out of this stone, and you've got people having like beers, barbecues, making a real event of it, and it just looks great fun. And you've got your Stan Lee cameo, which is probably one of the worst ones they've got, in the tow truck, but I like that scene. I thought it was pretty good fun.
Yeah, that is the level of fun and comedy I want throughout the whole movie, because I mean, that is so true of what would happen in modern day, isn't it? You would get massive amount of people come to something like that, be trying all these tricks of the trade, setting up their own little tents and gazebos and whatnot. That is just so reminiscent of how humans would be, and it was fun. It was a good laugh. And then you got Phil Coulson, who that's when he appears in the post credits of the previous film, and that's when that ties in as well. Again, this is when Marvel were on top of their post credit scenes.
Yes, and this is where everything they did meant something, and you paid attention and you're rewarded further on down the line. And as you said, yeah, it was the clip straight out of Iron Man 2, which is available to listen to on our podcast queue. I do like the fact that, I mean, there's no getting away from it. The body of Chris Hemsworth is ridiculously ripped and tight. But I have found, obviously the wig he's got on is terrible. His face is so weird. It looks like he's wearing a latex mask. Sometimes it just looks really strange.
I think it's I know that they dyed his eyebrows for this, but I don't know if they also dyed his beard, which makes it look, it doesn't look right, does it? You can tell there's something not right there.
No, I was trying to picture what it was. I mean, when he's walking around, even as a bloke, I cannot help but look at his body, because it's unbelievable. It's a body any bloke would dream for. But his face is just bizarre. I never realised they dyed his eyebrows in that. But looking at it, that does make sense.
Throughout this whole movie, I struggle with the eyebrows, and I think the beard is something not right, and they definitely rectify it later on in the films. But yeah, it's so weird. It's really, really uncomfortable to look at.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's almost as strange. When I first watched this, as I said, I didn't know anything about Asgard or Thor or Odin. And when he has that argument with Loki, and then he just like falls asleep, and he goes into his Odin's sleep Odin force, which does happen, and it is in the comics. It just seemed really weird that he needs to sleep to like recharge his battery, and it's the kind of person you wouldn't want in a fight, that halfway through the fight he's just going to lay down and sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix between someone who's got what's that?
It's like narcolepsy, isn't it?
Narcolepsy, yeah. Or when you're having an argument with your better half, you make a valid point and they go, "I'm just going to go to sleep now." So you got Loki's obviously like, just let you know, I know who my real dad is, and Odin's just turning around and go, I'm just gonna have a quick 5 minutes, and then we're talking about it afterwards.
You can. I like the vinegar strokes with Rennie Russo, that it just starts to slow down. He's so good. It just happens all the time. She probably walk into the bedroom and he's like asleep with his knob in his hand and he's got loads of mags on the floor.
Yeah.
It's happened again.
Just as she's gone to change into something more comfortable.
An Odin wank. That's what he's doing.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
God, I loved it. Another tangent. Never mind. That's for another film, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know, one thing that I struggle with in this film, that when Coulson and the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. go to Jane Foster's, it's not a lab, it's a room, and they seize all of their equipment, I always thought S.H.I.E.L.D. were way ahead of the game. And I struggle to believe that Agent Coulson didn't know who Thor was, didn't know what the hammer represented, didn't know what the patterns on the floor did, and the Biofrost. That he was so, that S.H.I.E.L.D. was so in the dark. That I was really surprised about that.
Yeah, because they've been going for quite a while, haven't they? They've been around since like the 40s.
Mm.
Maybe that's how they get their shit. Instead of doing their own research, they go and steal other people's stuff, and they don't actually have to do any of the work themselves. So
yeah, they're just phonies, all of them. That's it. Yeah,
they're just bullies.
But you look at Captain Marvel, and they were around then. You had Nick Fury and Agent Coulson. So, and everything they went through with Captain Marvel, but they were fully aware of what happened, and that was when he was just a brand new agent. So I thought they would have been well up to speed by now. This is several years later, 20 years later, that they still seem way behind and haven't got a clue what's going on. I struggle to believe that. I thought that they seemed pathetic and ridiculous. And even Jasper Sitwell, who is a Hydra agent that we learn later on, especially in The Winter Soldier, that I just didn't believe they didn't have a clue what was going on and they were playing catch up all the time. I thought that was stupid, but that's me being miserable.
They obviously know something, because you've got that scene where Phil Coulson turns around on his phone and he says, "We found it." So maybe, Jane Foster's just got the missing pieces. Maybe they've done a little bit of work, but instead of doing all of the work, they'll just go find a nerd who's done all their homework and say, "Right, we can't be bothered to do the rest. You've done the rest for us. Let's take it." So
yeah, no, that could work. Yeah, but I did like it when Thor went into a pet shop and he said, "Give me a horse," and he said, "We don't have any horses, just cats and dogs." And he goes, "On birds." "Well, give me the biggest one that I can ride." I thought that was a great line.
Yeah, and that is the best balance of Thor coming to Earth I think you can get. It's not so much it's something completely alien, but he's got such a privileged lifestyle that who dare turn around to him and say that they don't have a horse? I am like the soon-to-be king of Asgard. You should have a horse for me. That is the best level for him to be at.
Yeah, it was a good line and it worked for me. It delivered well, and they kind of picked up on that through the other films as well, and it got more comedic, which really worked for Chris Hemsworth, because he is good at doing that. And I'm glad they picked up on his strengths. What did you think? The scene where obviously Mjolnir has landed and S.H.I.E.L.D. have built their little kind of camp around it, and Thor decides he's going to go there to steal it, and that's where you obviously got Jasper Sitwell, you've got Agent Coulson and all the other agents. And it appears to be a bit of a waiting game where Coulson is quite happy for Thor to break in and watch his colleagues being beaten up to a complete pulp by Thor, like a computer game, just to see how far he gets. What do you think of that scene?
Yeah, it ends up becoming quite, as you would say, a tropey scene, doesn't it? He's got some of his strength, It's almost like a test to see, is this actually the person? Is this the person we've done all our research about? Is it actually him? Let's watch and see what he can do. He gets to the hammer. It's raining, it's slow motion, there's lightning, there's flashes, and he's tugging on this hammer, tugging hard, shall we say. You know, I think there must be a grunt as well somewhere, and it just doesn't happen. It's a very tropey scene. But yeah, maybe it's just another test, isn't it? Because they need to find who can wield this hammer, because the hammer's just like, it's pretty decent, but they want to know who can control it, and then they can control that person. So maybe Phil just doesn't have, doesn't have many friends in the Shield, and he doesn't care who gets beaten up.
Yeah, if he did have friends, he's going to have even less after this event. And we get introduced, kind of, you have to pay attention, to Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye, who's called up to oversee everything from above and possibly take out Thor. And I thought it would have been pretty cool for Jeremy Renner and Thor to go toe to toe, and then they meet again in the Avengers later on down the scene. And I thought that would have been quite a good grudge, but as usual, he has a few speaking lines, and that is pretty much it.
Yeah, but I think this is what they should have done to Black Widow in Iron Man 2, because he's like, after this movie, I was like, I want to know more about Hawkeye. He was quite mysterious. He's in the shadows, but he's clearly really tied into S.H.I.E.L.D. I liked that. Maybe a little bit more, like you said, but I think that's where Iron Man 2 missed a trick with Black Widow. They gave us too much.
Yeah, completely. She was rather shoehorned into this, and it was, you paid the price whilst you listened to it and watched it, that you think, why? But when Agent Coulson is interrogated, I mean, Thor tries to lift the hammer, he can't do it, and so he's arrested and he's questioned. And this is where I've got problems, where Coulson's saying to him, are you a soldier? Are you a mercenary? Who trained you to fight like that? And I struggle to believe he has not got a clue who he is. It's one of the worst interrogations going. It's just absolute shit. Coulson looks like an idiot when he's questioning him.
Yeah, again, is this because now they've seen that he can't wield the hammer? Are they like, well, you can't be, so who are you? But
yeah,
maybe, who knows?
Possibly. And I suppose Thor hasn't come to Earth before. He's only there now because he was kicked out of Asgard by his dad. So that could explain it. But maybe I rate S.H.I.E.L.D. too much.
Yeah, you're a massive supporter, aren't you? You're a big fan of them.
Yeah, I've got the T-shirts and everything, you know.
I've got some news to you. In about 4 or 5 movies' time, it's not going to go well for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah,
you're going to say something like they're taken over by Hydra, aren't you?
Oh, I think they've got some like Hydra agents in there already. But, if you want to support that kind of motive, mate, you do you, yeah? I'm not a fan.
I think I will do me. I've been doing that for a number of years now, and it's worked out pretty well.
Sometimes you have to do yourself. Self-love.
Self-loving. Yeah, definitely. I'm all for that, mate. And Loki turns up during the interrogation, and we've learned through, and he does this in numerous films, he appears as in one place and he's just like a hologram. And he tells him about the truce at Johan, and it just basically, it's going to ruin everything. And he even tells him that his dad died basically of a broken heart, didn't he? And that really destroys Thor.
Yeah, proper guilt trip and all that jazz.
Yeah, I like that, because it shows what a bastard he really, really is. And that's when he kind of puts on that very wry smile, because his plan's working, because Thor is just stupid and dumb, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, Loki is, certainly where I'm from, this lovely town called Feltham, he's what we would call a massive shit stirrer. And he just stirs that pot over and over, and the smile he does. And still, I can't fully hate him for what he does, because he's just like I don't know what it is about him in this film. And I think this is where everyone started to develop their secret love for Loki.
Oh, definitely. How can he? Because I don't think that Heimdall's transported him down there because no one else can see him. But how can he then physically grab hold of Mjolnir to try and lift it up if he's a hologram?
Yeah, I don't know. You've just thrown a spanner in the works there, haven't you?
Sorry, yeah.
You've just ruined like 13 years of Marvel films for me now.
Because everyone's around. They even show that in the background of analysing what's going on, and he's there trying to pull it. And I don't understand why no one can see him if he's a physical presence there. I don't know. Maybe he's got Harry Potter invisible cape around him.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different franchise. I don't think they have Harry Potter in the MCU.
Good. If he did, I'd hope that he was smashed to bits by Thor or Hulk.
I love Harry Potter.
Do you?
I actually look right. Let's just get this out of the way now. Halfway through the Thor podcast, I don't mind the films, and I will be happy to do a podcast on them.
I would, because I hate the films. Honestly, I'd love John Wick to fucking shoot the shit out of Harry Potter.
Well, he wouldn't, because Harry Potter would do a spell, and you can't shoot people with spells.
He's a twat.
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah, he is a twat. But do you know what? He's my twat.
That sounds so weird.
Make that what you will, but I'm having it.
That would make a good print on a t-shirt. Harry Potter is my twat.
Oh, God.
There you go. Is your Christmas present sorted out, mate? I'll get a mug as well to go with it.
I've printed off 10 already.
Jesus. God, that's a weird tangent. That really is a strange one.
That one.
Well, you got Dr. Selvig goes on behalf of Jane Foster, goes to pick up Thor, makes out he's some bullshit character, terrible acting, blah, 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 blah. They end up in a bar drinking. And I do like that scene where they've got those massive steins of beer and they take a massive gulp and then they're looking at each other through the corner of the eye because neither of them want to stop drinking to be the lesser man. And it ends up with Selvig getting absolutely mullered.
Yeah, he was never going to win that. Never.
No, definitely not. Definitely. I would have liked a bar fight in there. I think that would have been good, that some of the local hillbillies try and pick on Thor and he kicks their ass.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, that would have worked for me. That would have been a nice little bit of action, a little bit of violence just to show how Thor can be. But I love Loki's plan and it works really well. And when I watched this again for the first time in a long time, I forgot about just how cunning he is. When he goes and sees King Laufey and he hatches the plan that obviously his dad's in a sleep and you can go and kill him and I can't kill him because I'm going to be the ruler and it wouldn't be the done thing. But if you kill him, you can come into the planet and basically take whatever you want and I'll be king. And it seems to work really well. But I love the fact that even he doesn't know, King Laufey, that he's being double crossed by Loki, which is such a twisted, clever plan, isn't it?
Yeah, again, it just shows that despite the fact that is his real dad, he's like, I don't care because this is my chance.
Yeah, and it's great because he fools absolutely everyone into believing that he's the savior of his dad, and even Rene Russo falls for it as well a bit later on. But in the meantime, we've got the Warrior 3 who, and this bit kind of surprised me as well, when they decide that they want to go back and they want to rescue Thor and they want to go to Earth. And when they go down to see Heimdall, who you think is going to go against them, and he says, you're going to break oath and commit treason and to go and get Thor back, is that right? You go, yep, go on then. And I quite like that. That really surprised me.
Yeah, again, it just shows that, you know, he's got a soft spot for him, so he's quite happy for them to go off on their little adventure. And it's as much as I don't like the Warrior 3, I do like how they do that.
So another highlight in this film, getting away from the tangent, is the Destroyer. I love the Destroyer. I think it looks really, really good. He first appeared in 1965 in Stan Lee and Jack Kirby creation. And so he's been around. He wasn't just for this film. And he's made of Asgardian armor. And he looks, what he is, really, really menacing, doesn't he?
I think the Destroyer in this looks pretty cool. I really like him.
Do you have a problem with the special effects in this film at all?
I don't think they're really that up to scratch. I think they're a bit subpar, but I try and see past it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's difficult. And I think the Destroyer is one of those moments that I struggle to see past it because I don't think he's always so well done.
No, I think it's very difficult to get wrapped up in being a special effects snob where it was a great scene, but the special effects were bad. And the special effects sometimes every now and then aren't great, but I think as a character itself, the Destroyer was just brilliant. Before this, I'd never really seen anything like this that on a live action film anyway. I thought it was really, really effective, and you couldn't see what could destroy it at a certain point.
Yeah, knowing that Thor is like not himself at the moment, not this character that he's painted himself to be. This is where you start to really see that the stakes are, it's not looking good. There is something that can now make an absolute example of him.
Yeah, definitely. And he's obviously going to be transported there by Loki, and you get the confrontation, which I like, between Loki and Heimdall. I thought that was really good. And fair play to Idris Elba Heimdall for having a go at attacking Loki, but you knew that was never going to work because he has got the casket of ancient winters and just freezes him. But it doesn't kill him. I like the fact you see his eye through the ice, which still looks really menacing.
Yeah, it shows that Loki has thought about all of this so well that he can easily make Heimdall look like nothing.
Tell me, Loki, how did you get the Jotun into Asgard?
You think the Bifrost is the only way in and out of this realm? There are secret paths between the worlds to which even you, with all your gifts, are blind. But I have need of them no longer. Now that I am king, and I say for your act of treason, you are relieved of your duties as gatekeeper, and no longer citizen of Asgard.
And I need no longer obey you.
Yeah, and Heimdall's really powerful character as well. He has got superhuman powers. So, I mean, and he does sense danger, but obviously he didn't sense that much danger through Loki, but obviously it would have fucked him up before he got there.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine because Heimdall works such long hours, and when I say long hours, I mean 24/7.
Yeah.
I imagine he was probably had a bit of fatigue. Maybe he had some personal issues. Maybe he's, I don't know, got like COVID or something. So maybe he's just not his best at the time, and that's why Loki was able to freeze him.
He needs a union, doesn't he? That's what he needs.
He really does need a union. And if I wasn't so busy myself, and if he wasn't, spoiler alert, now dead, I would be his rep.
Fair play. And I love it when the Destroyer lands in the middle of the desert and Coulson's there, and Sitwell says to him, "Oh, is that one of Stark's creations?" And he says, "Oh, I don't know. He never talks to me these days. He never tells me what's going on." I love those little links. They make me smile every time I hear them.
Yeah, this is where it starts to come together. I know we're only like 4 films into the MCU, but you are starting to see how it does really tie in.
Yeah, definitely. And we're only 20 minutes from the end of the film. I mean, Loki has sent the Destroyer down just out of pure anger to destroy, and his instructions are to destroy everything and everyone in that town. And we're joined now by the Warriors 3 and Sif as well. And this is when you see like the side of Thor where that his dad longed for, where he's learned his lesson, kind of more of a humanitarian, that he's putting other people first. It's not always about the battle, and slowly he's becoming worthy to take Mjolnir in his hand, but he's not thinking that, which I like. This isn't about getting Mjolnir back.
No, this is a traditional character development. He's become quite selfless. He's realised that he can't do everything by himself, and yet it's not even his first thought to kind of take down the Destroyer. His first thought is to protect everyone else around him, which is what makes him worthy.
It does. And what do you think of the fight between the Warrior 3, Sif, and Destroyer? I think it's a pretty weak fight, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes them look comical.
Yeah, I love Sif jumping off of that spear, putting it right through between the shoulder blades, and she's got that smile on her face, and the way the whole body of the Destroyer twists round to face her, it's done really, really well, isn't it?
Yeah, at that point you just go, it's not looking good for you guys. You do not stand a chance. He's going to, sorry, the Destroyer, because let's not assume gender, is about to kick your ass.
And it only takes Thor to step out and willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of everyone else in the town that stops the Destroyer, which you see is being controlled by Loki back in Asgard.
Yeah, he's still pulling all the strings, isn't he? He really, he's done well. I mean, I can just about plan a night out with myself and no one else. And Loki has managed to plan all of this to take over 2 different realms, potentially 3, kill his brother, take the throne. He's done pretty well. I'll give kudos to Loki. Yeah,
and I like the fact that you see, like you said, you learn that Loki is controlling him when Thor walks up to him and it just says, "Look, take me. Let everyone else go. Just take me." And it flashes to Loki, and you think that he's kind of maybe got a bit of a kind of a soft side, and then he just turns around and he just smacks Thor. And to all purposes, he has killed him, which is weird how Mjolnir then brings him back to life. It's a bit weird. He is dead, isn't he?
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, he is, because he got smacked the shit out of him. And again, as far as I'm concerned, Mjolnir is a hammer. Oh, wait, maybe he does like...
It's the lightning kick-started his heart, maybe.
That's the one, yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
But whilst they show that, they then kind of flick to several different scenes when you've got Odin talking to the hammer, and the hammer starts to shake and buzz and hum, and you get the electric storm, and then it gets released from the rock, and it flies through the air. It's got a mind of its own, because finally Thor is worthy. What did you think of the fight between Destroyer and Thor? I was really disappointed. It was over so quick. I understand that he spins his hammer to lift Destroyer off the ground away from the town so he doesn't destroy the town. But I would have just liked to have seen the Destroyer absolutely get destroyed.
Yeah, be proper savage and rip its pieces. Absolutely.
Because out of the Destroyer and Loki, for a worthy challenger, the Destroyer is kind of be more interesting to watch. There are more stakes. Whereas he goes back up and Heimdall breaks through the ice that he's frozen in, which again visually looks really, really good. And Thor goes back up to Asgard, and the fight he has with Loki, it's just on the Bifrost. It's just really a shit fight, to be honest. Out of this is meant to be the grand finale of the film, I was really let down.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because it's his brother of sorts. He's just holding back and being a bit less Thor-like. But yeah, it's underwhelming fight, definitely.
Yeah, and Rennie Russo has a little bit to do. She lifts the sword up, gets slapped, and that's it. And the Frost Giants are there, and it's just a really weak fight, because we've spoken about this already, that he goes to kill Odin and Loki steps in to save one, and he's the savior of Asgard. And then Thor turns up and even says to his mum and kind of calls Loki out on his misgivings, and then they have the fight. And the only way he can stop, because Loki has set the the Bifrost, the big laser, to blow up Jotunheim, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't know, why is he so angry at them?
I couldn't work that out, why he was angry. Because is it because he is one of them and he wants that secret to be hidden? I couldn't work out the reasons why he's killing them. The only way he solves his problem of Jotunheim to stop being destroyed, he breaks the bridge. And in breaking the bridge, he then cannot go back to go and see Jane Foster, who's the new love of his life, even though he's only known her for about 3 days. So he falls in love extremely fast. But again, it's a shit fight. And the way it ends with, where the hell did Odin come from, straight in time to go and rescue both of them who are about to fall off the bridge. It was a really a weird thing. It didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, had he let them fall, we wouldn't have had 3 other films. So I think he had to had to save him. But yeah, it was really strange how he kind of comes out of his Odin sleep and just gets there and saves the day.
One thing I was glad that they didn't do was when they were showing the Bifrost destroying Jotunheim, I was really pleased that they didn't show small frost giant children who are running and being held by their parents because their land's being destroyed. That I think if they would have had that again, like they did in Wakanda Forever, where they showed the children, it would have really ruined it, and it's kind of yet to be fully Disneyfied, isn't it?
Do you not like children?
Not really. That's why I hate Harry Potter. It gets on my tits. It's so smug.
A child, he is a wizard.
He's got a wizard sleeve. That's about it.
We're gonna have to have a long conversation about your treatment of Mr. Potter, Stuart.
We will. I can't wait to review it because James loves Harry Potter. I know that he's got a big Harry Potter tattoo on his arm. So he's a massive fan.
Is that real? He's got a Harry Potter tattoo?
No, it's not. It's not, sadly. I wish it was. He's just not here to defend himself, so I can say what I like. Wrestling is shit. So
it's fake. It's so fake.
It is fake. It really is. That's the only true thing about it.
Yeah. You've got more chance of Dumbledore stepping into Sainsbury's than you have of wrestling being real.
That's true. And I don't even know who Dumbledore is, so...
Exactly.
I know. That seems... Yeah, whatever.
Just so you know, Stu, Dumbledore is a sex icon, just so you know.
I got a feeling Dumbledore isn't, because you're probably taking the piss out of me.
Look, Dumbledore, smoking hot body, beautiful long hair. Trust me on this one.
I don't trust you.
Kind of like the teacher everyone had the hots for in school. That is Dumbledore.
No, it's not. I've just bloody looked at it. Jesus Christ, Dumbledore looks like a... Jesus Christ. Strange I didn't trust you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, completely understandable though.
Yeah. Anyway. Another tangent. It's really convenient that Loki falls off the bridge and he falls into the sanctuary of Thanos, which sets us up later on for the Avengers. He might as well have fell holding the Tesseract going, look at this is going to come in handy later on. And everything ends all rosy and hunky-dory. And it's a bit of a shitty ending, in my opinion.
Yeah, bit boring, bit predictable, bit tropey, I think is the word.
Yes, and I love the fact that it was good, and he does play this out in several other films as well, where to stop Loki getting up, he just rests the hammer on his chest. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I always like it when he uses the hammer as it should be, in the sense that it's this immovable object unless you're worthy, and he's just using it for, it's like he's using it for a doorstop, but I love it.
Yeah, I think it looks really, really good. And the film does end, but you do get the post-credit scene, which sets us up, which is Nick Fury, and you've got Dr. Selvig, where he is, it's a straight carry-on into what happens in the Avengers when he shows him the Tesseract, and he's looking to investigate it's a power source and what they can do with it. And it turns out that this is Loki, or he's being controlled by Loki, isn't it?
Yeah, it all ties into the Avengers, doesn't it?
It does, and it ties in really well, and it makes you, at that time, it was amazing, it was magical, because you just thought, what is happening now? Nick Fury is going to do something good. He's linked to good stuff because he was back then. And what is happening? What is a Tesseract? It made me go away and research Tesseract, which then linked to Thanos, which then linked to a massive erection, because I knew it was going to get really, really good.
Yeah, this is where you started to feel that individually these heroes ain't shit, but you needed them to come together, and you knew they were going to start coming together. And that's what we all wanted. We all wanted to see them on screen together. this massive cinema event. We wanted it, and this is where it started to really get to that point.
Definitely, because there was talk. Kevin Feige was saying that this is phase 1. There's going to be a phase 2, 3, and 4, and this is what's going to happen, and this is what we're going to plan, and these characters are going to come into it. And back then, it was really, really exciting, and the future looked really good. And all I keep doing is comparing what we've got now to what we had back then, and I need to stop doing it, but I can't stop doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was completely brand new in the way they were doing these things, in the sense that, yeah, you had franchises before, but you never had post-credit scenes that were like this, and you never had little tie-ins that got to another character. This was like the first time where so much was coming together and so much was promised. So yeah, you would be having a massive little boner. I say massive little boner, that really doesn't work out. I had a little boner. And I loved it. I really loved it.
What, the boner or what?
Sorry, are you still talking about movies? I'm just talking about my boner. It was my first one.
Oh, good stuff. If we've got any viewers left, well done. Stick with it. Stick
just
with
leave
it.
Now. We've got 5 minutes left. It's going to get so much worse.
So that's it. The film ends, and we're left wanting more. And I was left wanting more then. I mean, I think this film does get a bit of a bad rep. I mean, it was 150 million budget. The total gross worldwide was just over 450 million. So in numbers, it was a success. Comparison with what else they've had in the MCU, this is deemed as a failure. But I enjoyed going back and revisiting this and watching it. And I mean, I watched it twice today, and it wasn't that bad. It's been worse the films that I've gone through and watched in the MCU. And I think this film is a bit undersold.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't hate it. It's got a good cast. Story's not the best, but it's an easy watch. In the MCU, it's an easy watch. Yeah,
definitely. I'd give this probably maybe a 3 out of 5. And I don't think there's any terrible bits in this that are awful. And again, I think there's not really many best bits. It's just an easy viewing. And I'm really pleased that they stuck with Hemsworth and they gave him more to do. And I think the comedic role in the further films of Ragnarok, especially, that kicked it all off, that make him a really likable character. And from nothing, I mean, he's just absolutely huge now. Yeah. So next up, I believe in phase 1, it's going to be Chris Evans' turn to step up, isn't it?
Howard Stark fished that out of the ocean when he was looking for you. He thought what we think. The Tesseract could be the key to unlimited sustainable energy.
Yeah, and this is a big one. This is a real big one.
This is going to be good. I love Cap. I really, really do. I can say already that this is going to score very, very high. That is it. That is our podcast. If anyone is still left listening, let us know who you are and we will send you a prize. So, because it's been amazing. Been great having you around. Next week, we are going to do Captain America. So if we don't do Captain America because other people have got commitments, I will find someone, even if it's a vagrant off the street, and we'll have another podcast. I can guarantee you that. Are you about next week, Steve?
I can... yeah, if we finish about this time next week as well, I should be able to do it.
Sweet. There you go then. That sounds perfect. So we will have Captain America, the first Avenger. We are getting so close to the Avengers, so close to the end of phase 1 where it really gets good. So thanks for listening. We'll be back, and check out our YouTube channel, The Film Wheelcast, and just download everything. There's over 200 podcasts to listen to of something for everyone. So thanks again. We'll be back next week. I'll see you later. Goodbye.